Heartwarming story revealed, how one incredible curvy woman changed a billionaire's life forever. In the quaint town of Maplewood, Clara, a 32-year-old plus-size seamstress, had a heart full of love and dreams stitched into every seam of her work. But lately, those dreams were fraying, just like the fabric draped on her cutting table. Bills were piling up, and the weight of the world felt heavier than the fabric she measured. The sign outside her shop, Clara's Tailoring, creaked in the blustery winds, echoing her fears. Each alteration she made for her community soldiers, single mothers, and children had become an act of love against a tide of self-doubt. Could she keep the shop alive that had been in her family for generations, or was it time to say goodbye to the legacy and the warmth of her craft? Just as she began to close up shop one dreary afternoon, the door swung open, and in walked Nathaniel, a 40-year-old tech billionaire, searching for a tailor in a land far removed from his glamorous life. He looked out of place, yet oddly drawn to Clara's world. His polished shoes clicked against the wooden floor. The initial blink of surprise morphed into judgment when he spotted Clara, her warm smile contrasting with his cold, counterfeit charm. Yet, as she took his measurements for a custom suit, something magical unfurled. They found common ground in their struggles. Clara shared how she offered free alterations to families in need, her voice rich with passion. Nathaniel, for all his wealth, spoke of the emptiness in his success, the loneliness that lurked behind every lavish dollar. It wasn't romance blooming between them, but understanding and unlikely friendship forged in honesty. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days turned to weeks, Nathaniel proposed a business partnership that could save Clara's shop, transforming it into a franchise. The temptation was undeniable. Yet, with that partnership came the risk of losing the authenticity and community that Clara held so dear. Her heart raced at the thought of expansion, yet fears gripped her tight. Was she deserving of such an opportunity? As those conflicting feelings swirled in her mind, Nathaniel also felt a newfound tension, a longing for depth where there had always been ambition. The storm of emotions peaked on the eve of the charity gala. Clara, gathering courage, took to the stage, her heart pounding like a drum. As she laid bare her journey, the audience leaned in, captivated. She became not just a seamstress but a voice for her community, a beacon of resilience. Nathaniel watched, soul stirred by Clara's vulnerability, knowing he stood at a crossroads of his own. When Clara stepped down, the crowd erupted with applause, a testament to her spirit. Yet, as she faced Nathaniel, their fates hung in the balance. Could he reconcile the allure of wealth with the richness of genuine connection? Would Clara's unyielding belief in community redefine them both? The air crackled with anticipation, the anticipation of answers that lay just beyond the horizon. Clara's heart raced as the applause swelled around her, a mixture of validation and vulnerability. She searched Nathaniel's face, seeking answers hidden behind his thoughtful expression. The shimmering lights of the gala twinkled like stars, but her world felt heavy with uncertainty. "Are you okay?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice to cut through the noise. Clara nodded, though she felt anything but. I never expected such a response. It was overwhelming." Nathaniel smiled softly, but his eyes betrayed a deeper turmoil. "You have a gift, Clara. What you just shared could inspire many. You should believe in yourself as much as they believe in you." "Maybe. But does that mean I should let you take the reins of my shop?" She stepped away, needing space to breathe. "You want to franchise it? I fear it would lose everything that makes it special." He followed her, his tone desperate. "You have the opportunity to reach more people, to help more families. Isn't that the goal? To spread your kindness? Yes, but at what cost? Clara's voice broke slightly. I don't want to be a brand, Nathaniel. I want to be a part of this community. Their conversation hung in the air, charged with tension. The gala pulsed with excitement, but to Clara, everything felt muted. Behind her, the crowd moved on, mingling with laughter and chatter, unaware of the storm brewing in the heart of the event. Clara turned to him, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. What about you? Are you willing to risk everything to help me? You're the one with the wealth and the connections. Nathaniel's brow furrowed, and for a moment, she saw the vulnerability of the billionaire beneath the polished surface. I don't want to just throw money at a problem. I want to build something meaningful. His voice wavered. I thought maybe, with you, I could find that. Tears flowed freely now, a release of the weight she'd been carrying. But how do we merge our worlds, Nathaniel? Yours of glitz and ambition, and mine of heart and community? His gaze softened, and he reached out, cupping her chin. Maybe we start by listening. To each other. To those we want to help. Together, we can find a way. In that electric moment, Clara felt something shift within her. Perhaps he wasn't simply a businessman seeking profit. Perhaps there was more to the connection they felt, a shared vision beyond mere survival. But just as hope began to bloom, Clara caught sight of a distant figure approaching, an abrupt reminder that reality wouldn't wait. Excuse me, she said, breaking their moment. A local journalist was making her way through the crowd, a notebook in hand. Clara. Nathaniel. She spoke with urgency, drawing closer. Can I get a few words? This gala is buzzing, and your story is making waves. Clara exchanged a glance with Nathaniel. They were at a crossroads, their worlds poised to collide or separate at any moment. The choices they were about to make could change everything, shaping not only their destinies but also the lives of countless others. Nathaniel raised an eyebrow, as if asking silently what she wanted to do. Clara squared her shoulders, heart drumming in her chest. Would she speak from her heart, or let the opportunity slip away like fabric unraveling at the seams? Let us do it together, she finally said, determination sealing her choice. Whatever happens next, we'll face it as a team. As they turned towards the journalist, a wave of uncertainty washed over Clara. Would they find the rhythm to merge their dreams, or unravel everything she had worked for? The spotlight was shifting, and the real story was just beginning to unfold. Clara took a deep breath as the journalist approached, her heart pounding. It was more than just the nervousness of being in the spotlight, it was the weight of everything that had been laid bare between her and Nathaniel. The pressure felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The journalist, a woman with bright green eyes and a notepad that looked almost too small for the magnitude of the evening, smiled brightly. Clara, can you tell me about your journey? How did you turn your passion into this wonderful shop? Clara glanced at Nathaniel. He nodded, his gaze encouraging. She swallowed her anxiety and began. It all started with a simple idea, really. I wanted to create a space where people could feel seen, where they could connect over food and kindness. As she spoke, Clara felt the warmth of the moment settle around her. She could see the audience, captivated by her story. There were quiet nods and attentive expressions, it was clear they were leaning in, wanting to absorb every word. The doubts that clouded her heart ebbed away and were replaced with a growing sense of purpose. And now, the journalist probed, sensing the shift, you have Nathaniel's support. What does that partnership mean for you? Clara's chest tightened at the question. Could she articulate what it meant? Nathaniel, standing close enough for their shoulders to brush, had shifted into the delicate dance between their worlds. It's a chance to grow, to impact more lives. But it's also a risk. I fear losing the heart of what we've built. Nathaniel stepped forward, his gaze steady and sincere. She's right. I see how special this place is, and I don't want to change that. I just want to find a way to help it flourish." His words hung in the air, charged with sincerity. The journalist's pen moved with swift strokes, capturing not just their words but the emotion brimming in the space between them. Clara could sense the audience's collective breath. They were witnessing something deeper than mere business talk. "And what is your vision together?" the journalist asked, probing for the essence of their collaboration. Clara's eyes flickered to Nathaniel. Would they speak a shared dream into existence? "We want to create a movement of kindness," she declared, her tone rising with conviction. "A way to connect communities, families, and individuals through simple acts of generosity and love." Nathaniel added, "And to prove that business doesn't just have to be about profit. It can be about people, too." There was a ripple in the crowd, a murmured agreement, a wave of hope. Clara felt the energy shift, resonating with laughter and shared intentions. Just as the journalist jotted down their words, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. But a sudden commotion erupted from the other side of the gala. Clara turned to see a group of local business owners, their faces contorted in disbelief, as they approached, gesturing animatively. "Are you too serious?" One man scoffed, clearly agitated. "You think you can just swoop in and make changes to our community? You don't know what it's been like for us." Clara's heart sank. The very voices she wished to uplift seemed to be drowning out her hopes. She glanced at Nathaniel, anxiety churning within her. Would this be the moment everything unraveled? "Wait," she implored, raising her hand, "let us talk." A simmering tension filled the air. Clara felt their eyes piercing through her, demanding answers. How could she bridge the gap? This was her community too, and she couldn't let them dismiss her dreams so easily. As they faced this unexpected confrontation, Clara's resolve solidified. They were all in this together, whether they liked it or not. Yet, the question lingered, could she convince them of the vision they desperately needed and found strength in unity? The words hung, the weight of the moment feeling more alive than ever. Would they listen, or would she have to launch headfirst into a fight no one was prepared for? The answer felt like a fragile line, teetering toward either connection or further division. What would come next in this defining moment? Clara's heart raced as the tension reached a fever pitch. Clara's outstretched hand trembled slightly as she faced the crowd, composed of local business owners whose skepticism hung heavily in the air. She took another deep breath, searching for the right words that could help her connect with them. She felt Nathaniel's presence beside her, giving her the silent strength she needed. "Look," she began, her voice steady but soft, "I fully understand the challenges you've faced. I've seen the hard work and effort that goes into keeping this community vibrant. In many ways, I share that passion. I opened this shop not just to sell, but to create a welcoming place, a haven, really for all of us." The man who spoke up first, his arms crossed tightly, raised an eyebrow skeptically. "You think we need your help?" he challenged, his voice biting. "You come in with your big ideas and think everyone will just fall in line?" Clara's heart raced. It was a fair question, and she knew she needed to tread carefully. "I'm not here to take over or dictate," she replied earnestly. "I want to work together. I want to hear your stories, your struggles, your dreams. What can we do collectively to enhance what you have already built?" A murmur swept through the crowd. Some faces remained hardened, but a few others softened as her sincerity pierced through the initial hostility. Clara took a step closer, hoping to bridge the distance. "This community matters to me," she continued. "The idea behind my shop is about kindness and connection, not just for my profit, but so we can uplift each other. What if we lose control?" A woman spoke up from the side, her voice laced with concern. "What if your vision doesn't include our needs?" Nathaniel, sensing the dialogue needed reinforcement, chimed in, "We're committed to transparency. Our goal is to foster partnerships, not overshadow the essence of this community." His tone was firm yet compassionate. We don't have all the answers, but we want to find solutions together. Clara felt the tension ease just slightly as another member of the crowd spoke up. You talk about connection, what do you have in mind? The question was cautious but held a flicker of curiosity. Now was the moment she'd been preparing for. What if we hosted community dinners, potlucks where everyone contributes? Clara suggested, her enthusiasm bubbling over. Sharing recipes, stories, and laughter. It could rekindle those ties. It's a way for us to gather and see the breadth of our community firsthand. Some heads nodded, and she continued, what if we partnered with you to host local artisans and makers? A marketplace that celebrates all of you. Together, we could create events that attract visitors while still honoring the heart of this town. The crowd shifted, their faces revealing a mix of contemplation and hope. Clara could hardly breathe as she watched the changes unfold. Could they really see the potential in her vision? But as Clara held her breath, the man who had first scoffed stepped forward again, this time less combative. It's easy to have grand ideas, but what about the realities? Can you really follow through? His voice was still guarded, but there was a hint of challenge rather than sheer rejection. Feeling the weight of his challenge, she nodded. I'm more than willing to prove it. Let us create a plan together. I might not have all the resources, but I promise to listen and learn. I will fight for this community. Nathaniel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Clara's heart was pounding in her chest. She could feel the change in the air, a shift from skepticism to possibility. But deep down, she knew that trust would take time. Just as hope flickered, a woman at the back raised her voice, and what if it doesn't work? What happens then? The question lingered, echoing the fears of the room. A heavy silence blanketed them again, and Clara faced an unsettling truth. Her heart raced. They needed to understand that she was all in, despite the risks. What if their fears had merit? What if unity was harder to achieve than she imagined? As uncertainty loomed, Clara took one last step forward, ready to embrace the storm ahead. Would they take her hand, or would she face this challenge alone? Her journey was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than ever. Clara's heart sank at the weight of that question. It felt like the final obstacle standing between her dreams and this fragile moment of connection. She looked around the room, seeing not just the skeptical faces but also the flickers of vulnerability, the hope mingled with fear that perhaps, just perhaps, they could find a common ground. I understand the fear of falling short, she said slowly, her voice almost a whisper now. But what if this is our moment to forge something great together? I can't promise perfection, but I can promise commitment. Every step we take will be rooted in our shared priorities. The man took a step back, considering her words. Nathaniel shifted beside Clara, sensing a slight shift in the thermals of the atmosphere. The murmurs simmered like a pot on the verge of boiling. Clara continued, her words gaining momentum as she felt more emboldened. We could start small. A monthly gathering, an open forum where you can voice your concerns, your ideas, anything. I want to hear what you need. This isn't just about my vision, it's about yours, too. But what about our past? An older woman interjected, her eyes gleaming with emotion. What about the ways we've tried to unite before and failed? It always feels like we're letting go of something we've worked so hard for. Clara nodded, acknowledging the deep-rooted fears. That's the very foundation we can build upon. The lessons learned from past failures are invaluable. They shape us. We can honor what you've created and find ways to enhance it further. A burly man scratched his chin, clearly conflicted. You wanna try, huh? Then what happens when it doesn't go right? Who will take the blame? The room fell silent again. Clara chewed her lip, her thoughts racing. Then I'll take the blame. But I assure you, I won't stop fighting for what we can create together. If I stumble, I hope to rise with your support. It's a shared responsibility. Her vulnerability hung in the air like an unspoken promise. Slowly, she noticed a few more nods from across the room. Maybe she had struck something deep. The atmosphere shifted once more, and she saw eyes light up with tentative curiosity rather than simply defensive stubbornness. I understand we can't erase the past, Clara pressed on, but we can start rewriting our future. One step, one event, one moment at a time. It's what communities do, right? We support each other. An electric tension vibrated as one by one, faces began to soften. The man who had initially challenged her crossed his arms but leaned slightly forward. All right, Clara. Let us say we give it a shot. What's your first step? Clara could hardly believe what she was hearing. It felt like the breath she'd been holding for so long finally escaped her lungs. Let's set a date for that first dinner. We can plan it together. The more of you that help create it, the more joyful it can be. As the members of the crowd began murmuring among themselves, excitement mingled with caution. Clara's heart raced with a mixture of hope and anticipation as she caught Nathaniel's proud smile from the corner of her eye. But just as things were on the verge of blossoming, a new voice broke through, young, uncertain, yet somehow unyielding. What if you don't stay? What if this is just a phase for you? Clara felt her gut clench. It was a valid point, she had come in as a newcomer with big aspirations. She needed to show them she wasn't just passing through. I plan to be here, no matter how this turns out, she stated with fierce determination. Like I said. I'm all in. The crowd shifted again, a wave of emotion rippling through them. Clara knew that this was just the beginning. Their doubts were not vanishing, they were evolving into a more profound challenge she had to face. But as hope flickered anew, she couldn't shake off the feeling of deeper shadows lurking just beneath the surface. Would their faith hold? Or would it shatter like fragile glass stripped of its trust? Clara took a breath, feeling the energy shift one last time. A spark had ignited, but the real test was ahead. Little did she know what lay waiting to challenge her commitment. Clara's stomach twisted into knots as she processed the challenge thrown at her. The weight of the room pressed on her shoulders, but she was fueled by a fierce determination. This was more than just a meeting, it was a chance to truly connect and belong. Is it enough? She wondered silently, her pulse quickening. What if she could win over those hesitations? She was ready to lead them forward, but the true question remained, were they ready to follow her? Nathaniel leaned in, his voice low, breaking her thoughts. You've stirred something, Clara. His gaze flickered to the crowd. They feel it. Just give them a moment. Though his words were encouraging, Clara couldn't shake the shadow of doubt creeping in. She focused instead on the faces around her, searching for signs of readiness. The mixture of skepticism and hope blended in the air, like colors swirling on a painter's palette. I've seen it happen before, the older woman spoke again, her voice trembling. People come in, promise change, but when the hard work begins she let the words hang in the air, a timid reminder of past disappointments. Clara took a deep breath, her heart racing as she stepped forward. I get it. It's hard to trust. You've been through so much already. But what if we remembered what we're fighting for? Each other? Her voice grew stronger, fueled by the emotion swirling inside her. Imagine what we could create together, what we could build. The murmurs quieted as she continued, infusing each word with conviction. Let us turn this space into a safe haven for every voice to be heard. I'm not just asking you to trust me, I'm offering you my heart. Let us take this chance, together. There was a palpable shift. Clara's words seemed to reach some core within them, igniting flickers of curiosity into something brighter. The man who had challenged her now looked to the side, as if recalling a better time, while others nodded slowly. And if it doesn't work? The young voice piped in again, a bit quieter this time. What then? Clara felt the truth settle over her like a warm blanket. Then we learn. We adapt. Together. Life's not about sticking to comfort zones, it's about pushing boundaries. A flicker of lightness filled the atmosphere, and Clara sensed the energy in the room shifting. Nathaniel's smile widened as he leaned closer to her, whispering, "You're doing it. Just keep holding their gaze." Clara swept her eyes over the crowd, taking in every emotion she could find. She sensed they were on the edge of something almost ready. "How about we start with that first dinner? I'd love to hear everyone's ideas to make it special. Your voices matter. They always have." An older gentleman nodded, his brows knitted but softening. "I like the sounds of that. It feels different. As long as you stay committed, Clara." "That's the real question," a woman added, her tone cautious but filled with interest. "I'm committed beyond what you can see," Clara promised. "I'm not just dropping in, I'm putting my heart in this." Excitement rippled through the room, mixed with concern still lingering like whispers in the wind. Nathaniel caught her eye, pride shining brightly within him. But then, as they began to discuss the details, a loud crash echoed from outside, startling everyone. The door swung open, and two figures stumbled in, disruptive and brazen. Clara's heart dropped as she recognized one of them. "Clara, what's this?" A familiar voice roared over the crowd. It was her brother, and beside him stood someone she'd rather not face, the very person who had pushed her away from everything she loved. The energy shifted drastically, and Clara felt her breath hitch. This wasn't just a challenge, this could unravel everything she had fought for. As she looked into her brother's eyes, a frightening question loomed large: would this moment tear her community apart, or would it forge the strength they needed to survive? Clara's heart raced like a drum, each beat echoing through the silent room. She felt every gaze bearing down on her, a mix of curiosity, concern, and the faintest hint of accusation. Her brother's presence felt like a storm cloud threatening to burst forth, the tension electric in the air. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, yet it cut through the haze of chatter like a knife. The crowd shifted uneasily, aware of the rising stakes but unsure how to react. Her brother, Alex, had never suited formal settings. His jeans and hoodie clashed with the room's hopeful energy. "I can't believe this is what you've chosen, Clara," he said, glossing over her question. The concern in his eyes was mixed with disappointment. "I'm trying to build something meaningful," Clara replied, her heart pounding against her chest. "Something we can all be a part of." "And with him?" Alex pointed a finger at the figure standing next to him. Clara recognized the tall, sharp-featured woman. It was Lauren, her once close friend, now a painful reminder of everything that had gone wrong. "You think she cares about you, about this place?" Lauren's lips curled into a smug smile, and it ignited a flame of anger within Clara. "This isn't about her, Alex. This is about us, our people. We're trying to create a community." "But do you really think they'll follow you?" Lauren interjected, her voice dripping with scorn. "You think everyone's just going to forget how things were? Why would they trust you now, after your stop?" Clara's voice rang out, fierce and commanding, surprising even herself. The energy had shifted again, she could sense the crowd leaning in, feeling the tension. "This isn't about past mistakes, it's about moving forward. Together." Alex's skepticism hung palpable in the air. "And what about her? You're just allowing her back into your life? After everything?" The accusation felt like a slap. Clara swallowed hard, grappling with her emotions. Lauren made choices, and yes, it hurt. But if we're going to heal, we need to stop holding on to grudges. Clara took a step toward her friend, drawing strength from her own determination. "You want respect? You have to give it, too. Clara, you don't know what you're doing." Alex's desperation tore through his voice. "She'll turn on you again. She always does." In that moment, Clara saw doubt flicker across the faces of the crowd. They were waiting for something, a sign, a resolution, anything. "This is us," Clara said, her voice cracking slightly. "I can't promise it will be perfect, but I promise to give everything I have. Not just for me, but for everyone here. I want us to choose trust, not fear. I want us to choose connection." Something shifted again. She could feel the energy in the room changing, the momentum subtly altering like a wave. Her brother's expression softened just a little, but Lauren stood there, arms crossed defiantly. "And if that trust breaks again?" She shot back, her tone slicing through Clara's newfound hope. A silence stretched, thick and taut. Clara felt as if the very air around her held its breath. "We learn," she answered, her voice steadying. "And we begin again." Alex's shoulders sagged, the frustration melting into a reluctant acceptance. The crowd's eyes flickered to each other, murmuring amongst themselves, trying to process the weight of what was happening. "Maybe we could," a voice called from the back, tentative but hopeful. The speaker was one of the younger members of the community, a spark of enthusiasm attempting to ignite the rest. Clara felt a rush of warmth. Maybe this was the moment they'd been waiting for, a chance to forge anew. But just as the faint glimmer of hope began to spread, Lauren's voice erupted once more. "So you think this is all it takes? One speech? What happens when the real work gets hard?" Clara swallowed, emotions roiling inside her. "Then we do it together. Whatever it takes." As the murmurs faded into uncertainty and the tension in the air lay thick as a fog, Clara realized how small yet monumental this moment felt. Everything hinged on their next steps. Claire took a deep breath, ready to step into the unknown. But would her courage hold strong against the challenges ahead? As she locked eyes with each person in the room, doubt lingered like smoke, and fear whispered its cruel warnings. But Clara had taken her stand. Now it was time to truly find out if they would stand with her or let the fear pull them apart. The decision hung in the balance, and the stakes had never felt higher. Clara's breath hung in the air, heavy with anticipation. The crowd remained frozen, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, but slowly, the tension began to thaw. An older man, Mr. Willis, who had been one of the staunchest critics of Clara's earlier decisions, took a step forward. His grizzled face, usually set in a frown, now wore a contemplative expression. "You speak like you really care, Clara," he said, his voice rough but steady. "But talk is cheap. What happens when the shadows from the past come creeping back?" That question hung between them, rippling through the crowd like a wave. Clara felt her heart thud in her chest. She opened her mouth, but the answer seemed to slip away just as quickly as it had formed. She could see the doubters in the audience, their faces etched with skepticism, questioning if she could really pull this off. "I can't change the past," Clara finally said, her heart racing with the weight of her honesty. "But I can control what I do now. I won't let fear dictate our future." Alex's eyes searched hers, wrestling with his instincts. Clara could feel her brother's internal battle. He wanted to protect her, but he also wanted to believe in her. The flicker of hope in his gaze offered Clara a fragile lifeline. Suddenly, a young woman from the back shouted, "But what's our first step? Where do we start?" Her voice rang with the urgency of someone who yearned for a plan, for direction. Could it be true? Did they still believe? Clara held on to that thought like a buoy in a storm. "We start by working together. A committee, a meeting, whatever it takes to hear each other's voices," she replied eagerly. "We will plan events, engage with each other. Let us make decisions as a community, not just as individuals." The murmurs began again, but this time there was a different tone, one of intrigue and potential. Clara saw faces soften, shoulders relax, and she could sense the shift in energy. People began nodding, exchanging looks of quiet determination. Before she could build on this momentum, a deeper voice cut through the chatter. It was one of her oldest friends, Sam, standing at the back. But what about the ones who want to reconcile? What about the ones who want to tear us down? Clara shot him a glance, knowing he was right. Ignoring conflict wouldn't make it vanish. We face them as a united front, she urged. We can listen to their concerns. It's messy, but it's real. I believe we're stronger together. We won't let past betrayals define us. Lauren rolled her eyes, and Clara's heart sank. She knew Lauren would take any opportunity to undermine her. You think this is going to be easy just because you say we'll work together? Her voice dripped with disbelief. You've already failed once. Clara felt her heart constrict, but she refused to let the darkness seep in. I know what I lost, she said, her voice steady. But this is about more than just me. It's about our community. Let's not waste this chance. Slowly, hands began to raise. Individuals were speaking up, sharing their own doubts and dreams. One by one, they brought their voices to life, like seedlings pushing through the soil after a long winter. But still, Clara sensed the air thick with unease. She wanted to believe they were all moving toward something greater. Yet inside, a whisper of uncertainty echoed louder. Could she rally them together? Would they really trust her, or was she heading for another fall? The room continued to buzz with cautious excitement, and Clara's heart began to flutter with hope. Just as she started to envision a brighter future, her eyes caught Alex's, and in that moment, she sensed a shift. He offered a small nod, a gesture of reluctant support. But before Clara could decipher what that meant, the door swung open, startling everyone with a loud creak. All eyes turned toward the entrance, where a figure stepped into the room shadowed, almost ominous, but undeniably there. Looks like the party's just getting started, said the stranger, their voice smooth and confident, sending a shiver down Clara's spine. In that moment, every bit of progress she had made felt tenuous. Would this new presence crush the fragile bonds she had begun to forge, or could they be an unexpected ally? Clara felt hope and dread entwined. The story wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. Clara's heart raced as the stranger stepped further into the room, their silhouette sharpening against the bright light spilling from the hallway. Tension gripped the air like a storm cloud, and the murmurs around her faded into a hushed silence. Who was this person, and why had they chosen this moment to intrude? The stranger, a tall figure with tousled hair and an enigmatic smile, held a casual confidence that seemed to ripple through the audience. Clara's instincts screamed at her to assess this new threat. She sought Alex's gaze again, but he was fixated on the newcomer, his expression uncertain. Sorry to interrupt, the stranger said, hands raised in mock surrender as if they hadn't just disrupted a fragile moment. I've been hearing a lot of talk in town about change, about healing, about uniting. And frankly, I just couldn't resist seeing it for myself. Clara could see the crowd's intrigue morphing into curiosity. Some leaned forward, eager for more. Others remained skeptical, crossing their arms defensively. She needed to steer this in the right direction to bring back the focus to the community, to their shared dreams. What's your name? She asked, feeling uncharacteristically assertive, even as her stomach twisted with apprehension. Evan, he replied, his voice smooth and warm. I used to live here many years ago. I came back hoping to find a sense of connection, maybe even make a small difference. His gaze swept over the crowd. I never expected to walk into a town meeting, though, or whatever this is. A quiet chuckle rippled through the crowd, a brief moment of levity amid the tension. Clara sensed a shift, a softening of hearts, and she took a step forward. Welcome, Evan. We're discussing how to rebuild our community, to heal the wounds of the past. Perhaps you can share your thoughts? Evan's eyes sparkled with interest. Rebuild, huh? That sounds ambitious. So, what's the plan? His question lingered, and Clara felt the weight of it. What was the plan? Sure, she had ideas swirling in her mind, but articulating them to this gathering felt monumental. We're starting with a committee, she said, desperation tinging her voice. We want everyone to have a voice. To bring people together and hear their concerns. Solid start, he said, leaning against the doorframe. The ease of his posture was both inviting and intimidating. But what happens when conflict arises? When opinions clash, and egos flare? That's what makes this real, Clara urged, her heart pounding. We need to face those challenges, not ignore them. Only then can we truly find a way forward. Evan nodded slowly, clearly weighing her words. I'll give you that. A committee sounds nice, but let us be honest, the ones who resist will always resist. They might erupt like a volcano when they feel their territory is threatened. The crowd was silent again, hanging on both his confidence and Clara's response. She felt the stakes rising, the air thickening with tension. Then we handle it together. We address it calmly, with respect. I believe we can bridge those divides, she said firmly. Just then, Lauren chimed in from the back, her tone laced with sarcasm. What, you think fairy dust will magically fix all our issues? Half of us can't even look at each other after what happened. Clara shot her a frustrated glance, but instead of letting anger brew inside, she told herself to focus on the bigger picture. No, Lauren. I'm saying we owe it to ourselves to try. We want to focus on healing, not on pointing the blame. Evan seemed intrigued by this exchange, clearly watching the dynamics in action. Honestly, Clara, you might be surprised at how far a little honesty and vulnerability can go in these situations. But it takes guts to dig into those old scars. Clara felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a resilient spark igniting within her. Maybe Evan could help. Maybe they needed a new perspective, someone who once stood in their shoes. But as she considered this, a gnawing thought crept back in: was it possible to fight both internal and external battles at the same time? Suddenly, she took a deep breath, the chill of doubt still lingering. So, you're saying you want to help? Clara asked, her voice trembling between hope and caution. Depends on the mission and the team. But I'm interested, he replied, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. A new possibility hung in the air, a spark of hope intertwined with uncertainty. Clara felt the ground shift, the room buzzing with electric energy. Would Evan become any ally in this fight, or would he add to the struggles? One thing was clear: this journey was only just beginning. She could feel it in her bones, a sense that something monumental was about to unfold. But in that moment, all Clara could think was, how far could they really go together? And more importantly, what sacrifices lay ahead on the path to healing? Clara stood there, heart pounding as the gaze of the crowd shifted between her and this newcomer, Evan. She could feel the tension coiling tighter, the stakes higher than ever. They had navigated doubt and conflict, and now they were at a precipice, balancing on the edge of something that could lead to either glory or ruin. Let us take a step back, Clara spoke up, her voice steadying itself against the uncertainty swirling around. Evan, you say you want to help, but what do you actually want from us? Evan's expression shifted, the casualness fading. I want to see this community thrive. I've missed it. His voice took on a nostalgic edge. But I've also seen what happens when ambition overshadows authenticity. I can't let that happen here. Clara nodded, sensing a shared understanding brewing between them. That's exactly why we need genuine input from everyone in this room. We're building something real, not just for one person's vision, but for everyone's. So let us unite, share, and face our scars together. She glanced around the room. Let us talk, let us listen, and let us find ways to heal, not just as businesses or individuals, but as a community. Easier said than done, Lauren piped in defiantly, yet Clara could see the battle within her friend. It was a flicker of doubt fighting against a spark of hope. Yes, Clara replied, meeting Lauren's steely gaze. But if you're here, that counts for something. It shows you still care enough to challenge me. We have to embrace these conversations. That's how change happens. The crowd remained intrigued, some nodding, others still cautious, but there was a hum of energy beginning to swell. Even Alex, who had stood fiercely against Clara, couldn't hide the flicker of belief igniting in his eyes. "I'll stand by you," Alex said, his voice resolute. "But it's not just about you. It's about all of us. If we're going to do this, we do it together." A wave of agreement swept through the crowd, and Clara felt the cracks of doubt begin to mend. Encouraged, she turned back to Evan. "Will you be a part of this? Lend us your insight, help us shape our ideas, and keep us grounded?" Evan's eyes sparkled with energy as if he could see the potential unfolding before them. "I can commit to that." As they forged plans to meet regularly, Clara felt a swell of warmth and hope with each dot they connected. The fabric of their community began to weave together like the threads in her shop. She envisioned the dinners, the discussions, heartwarming gatherings that would bring light to the long shadows cast by their past. Then, a voice from the back cut in, "And what happens when we face opposition? When the past crashes back in?" Clara took a breath, drawing upon her well of strengths. "Then we face it. Head on. We don't turn away from hard conversations. If we learn to listen, to understand, we won't just survive, we'll truly thrive." As the crowd murmured their concerns, something else began to stir in the air, an ember of hope. Suddenly, people began to stand, not in defiance but in unity. One by one, they spoke, sharing fears and dreams, experiences and aspirations. Clara guided each voice, wrapping them in warmth like her sewing machine stitching pieces of fabric into something whole. Hours melted away, but it didn't matter. This gathering wasn't about time, but connection. At the end of the night, Clara stood before them, her heart open wide, overflowing with gratitude and joy. Could their town really transform? Could they find a way through the darkness? "I promise you, I'm committed to this journey. No matter how bumpy it gets," she declared, her voice ringing clear across the gathering. "Together, we'll learn, we'll grow, and we will rebuild. Let us transform today's fears into tomorrow's victories." The room erupted in applause, a mixture of acceptance and passion, hope blooming in each heart. In that moment, Clara could feel the tides shifting in Maplewood. The fears were still there, but they were no longer insurmountable. They had taken the first step, stitched together by collective courage, vulnerability, and a shared commitment to rise above past grievances. As she looked around at the faces illuminated by hope, joy washed over Clara. This is what it meant to be a community, to lift each other up, to support mostly the ones you don't see eye to eye with, to create a tapestry where every thread mattered. And as the night drew to a close, Clara knew this was just the beginning of something beautiful. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could inspire your journey. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment below and share your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support for the channel, now or never. Don't wait not even one more second to share and be part of our growing community.